Good day. I'm your host, Paul Hansen, and welcome to You and Your Money. This being the first show, I'd like to cover a little of the basics, background on myself, and a little background on the program and what the program will attempt to do. First, myself. I'm in the financial planning business. I have been for the past 3 years. I'm currently enrolled in the Certified Financial Planner program through the College of Financial Planning in Denver, Colorado. I work for a financial services company that only does business with Lutherans. I have taken courses in life insurance, business planning, tax planning, health insurance, investments, pension planning, and employee benefits planning. I have previously worked for a major brokerage firm in Beverly Hills, California, and I am a graduate of Valparaiso University with a bachelor's in civil engineering. I've been in Los Angeles for the past 4 years and now have returned to East Brunswick, where I make my permanent residence. The format that the program will attempt to have is one for your information, rather consumer-oriented. What products are out there, and what are the things that you as a viewer should know at home? What's the return? What are the benefits or riders or bells and whistles? And we will attempt to ferret those out for you. When speaking of financial planning, we talk about progressing through the triangle. From the very basics of money market accounts, savings accounts, treasury bills, life insurance, auto insurance, very conservative yet necessary things, we will be moving up a bit more into the reserves area of single premium deferred annuities, cash management accounts, municipal bonds, tax-free money market trusts, and progressing to the very top through real estate, oil and gas programs, and all the way to commodities, which is at the top of our triangle and illustrates the highest risk as well as the highest return. This program will attempt to guide you through the financial planning program format. We'll start at the bottom of the triangle and discuss things as why we're starting there, why this is the path one should take in accumulating assets, and each week I will have as my guest a person in the field in which we are talking about. For example, our next guest will be Jay Health, a certified public accountant who has his firm here in East Brunswick. He will be talking about the basics of having an accountant, making him aware of your investments, and specifically we will be talking about budgeting, net worth statements, and cash flow statements that people should be doing on a regular basis as a periodic checkup as to how they are doing. The following week, we'll look at another basic item in the financial planning triangle, and that is of having a lawyer. Steve Philpott, who is a lawyer in North Brunswick, will be my guest, and again talking as to what parts a lawyer is invaluable to one in establishing a financial plan. Both of these gentlemen will be back with us periodically as we progress through the triangle and asking them, as after we've looked at a couple of different investments, what an accountant would say of such an investment, how it should be appropriate in one's program, and again, what are the legalese, and we'll be asking Steve, our lawyer, what things people should be looking for as far as ownership and beneficiaries and things such as that. We'll start with what is financial planning. Financial planning, simply put, is the ongoing process of accumulating money, managing money, and distributing money. There are 5 basic problems that all of us face, no matter what our vocation or our income levels may be. They are accumulating money, that is, creating an estate or accumulating wealth, inflation, income taxes, estate settlement costs, and the loss of income earning power through death, disability, or retirement. Let's take a brief look at each one of these. Accumulation. Accumulation means savings. All of us would agree that part of what we earn should be ours to keep. and few of us evaluate our spending and saving practices beyond the typical belt-tightening at the end of the month. It is our hope that through this program, and especially next week with J Health, that we can get a better idea of budgeting our money and be more successful in our cash flow situation. Let's take a look at our second problem. Inflation. With the exception of the Great Depression and few downturns in the recent recessionary periods, inflation has been a way of life for most of the 20th century. Since 1966, we've lived with an average annual price increase exceeding 6%. And I'm sure that all of us are pretty aware of the double-digit inflation of the past few years. I think it's safe to say that inflation, to some degree, will continue to be in our economy. While the exact rate is obviously unpredictable, it is probably wise to base our future financial plans on the expectation that inflation is going to continue. Connected with inflation is our third financial problem. Income taxes. The size of our government has grown to a point where the cost to the taxpayer is enormous. Probably 1/4 to 1/2 of every dollar that you earn is taken to pay for federal, state, or local government functions. Adding to this income tax structure is the fact that it's progressive, so that as we enjoy progressive financial success, the government feels it's necessary to take a portion of that. The fourth financial problem that we address is that of estate settlement costs. An estate is the sum total of a lifetime of accumulations. All of your assets, including your insurance, personal property, real estate, cash, securities, and business assets. It's often helpful to picture the creation of an estate as a funnel in which a lifetime of accumulation of work and investment goes in at the top and exits as your estate. However, we are all well aware of our silent partner that we have. That, again, is the government. The government will tax your right to pass this estate to your heirs, and your heirs' right to receive this estate. Under the current law, these estate costs can range from 18 to 50% of your taxable estate. After all this, you're probably saying to yourselves, as we often read in magazines and newspapers of financial planners, and those people say that they only handle assets of hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars or so forth. It gives the majority of us the feeling that, hey, I only have a house in East Brunswick, or I only have a few investments, but surely nothing of the magnitude that would warrant paying closer attention to one's estate. I think that we would be surprised that if we were to sit down and add up the current value of our investments, our property, and things that we do own, that we would have a very sizable estate and something that should be planned for. Although it's not $500,000 or $1 million, there are ways for proper ownership and assets that can perhaps be of advantageous tax consequences. All in all, I think we are just unaware of the magnitude of what we do have, and that we do not sit down and evaluate what we are doing, because we are nowhere near the numbers that we hear being thrown out so often. I think that we're really doing ourselves a disservice in this, that we too have things to consider. In fact, the less that one has, the more one should plan to get the greatest benefits from what he or she owns. I think another problem of what I discussed earlier is that of inflation, is rarely taken into account of one's estate. While only having an estate of $300,000 now, what about our estate in 10 to 20 years from now? How large will that estate be, and what plans do we have to dispose of it, by selling, or what happens in the event of death? The fifth problem is that of loss of earning power through death, disability, or retirement? Let's take a look at each one. Retirement. Probably it's quite typical for most of us, no matter how old we are, to spend a great deal of consideration and planning as to how we'll spend our retirement. Yet very little consideration on how well we will finance it. Social Security, company pensions, and other financial programs have to a great degree lulled us into a false sense of security. Again, inflation and taxes are probably our greatest enemy of a successful retirement program. Retirement savings programs should be reviewed annually, even with the current availability of new 401k plans that are available through an employer, which are employee savings plans that can help supplement IRAs as well as company pension plans. Even without considering income taxes, inflation will cut away at what we have saved. Let's talk about disability. How much have we really set aside for disability? 3 or 6 month savings account, which is typically recommended just for ongoing businesses. For instance, if a car breaks down, or you need a tree cut down in your yard, or medical expenses, or something unexpected comes up. Well, how unexpected is a disability? Certainly a 3 month savings account is not going to sustain you for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. It surely is not enough. There are ways assets can be used and should be used. A cost-effective way of filling in these gaps is disability income insurance. We'll be talking about disability income on one of our future programs, and again talking about the benefits and the bells and whistles that each of these policies have, what people should look for, and how they should be integrated with their company plans and their existing assets. Finally, death. I'm sure we're all well aware of life insurance. In fact, there have been recent changes in life insurance plans to bring about universal life, variable life, irreplaceable life, term insurance, whole life, vanishing premium, minimum deposit. The options and variables go on and on. Again, that is a product, that is a good product. But looking at financial planning, one must look at the other assets that one has. What other areas of disposable income can be disposed or will not have to be continued after the death. If the surviving spouse does not plan to live in a house, the house can be sold, perhaps to buy a smaller house or a condominium elsewhere to the family or in a warmer climate. You also must look at the timeline as well. Be careful not to box yourself into definite plans, but create a flexible plan. Look at the soft market that we've had in housing recently. To say that you will sell your house may not be appropriate. In the event for someone to die now and expect to sell the house within 6 months, especially in Los Angeles, where I've just come from, houses were on the market for 1 to 2 years typically. The surviving spouse or family that does not have any income during that time can have a rather rough time of it and cannot fulfill the financial ideas and obligations that they need to carry out. So while those are alternatives, let's take a look at the well-rounded picture saying, I've got other disposable income here, I've got some securities, some insurance that will carry on even if to the worst possibility, and the money can be used some other way in the best possibility. I think it is improper to say that to have no insurance because one has a large amount of securities, holdings, or real estate, as you have put together during your life, and wanting to sell those, you want to sell those at the highest possible market. You want to control your financial products and your investments. You do not want the market and the time to control you. Isn't it that the way that you want things done after your death? Just because you're not there doesn't mean that you shouldn't pull the cork out and just be able to sell whenever you can. So I think that part of the program that we'll have here on You and Your Money is looking at the different situations by bringing in some different scenarios, and I encourage you to write into the library some of your concerns and situations so that we can take a look at them and some questions that you might have and ask our guests each week and see what they would have to say. In summing up, what we want to do on the show is to show a person how to do their financial planning and give them some ideas and some consumer information that he or she should look for when going into the financial market for different products. The important first step in any plan is to establish your family objectives. Second, how will I achieve these objectives? Third, the financial plan should be balanced. This balance can be achieved through considering the three building blocks in the triangle first presented in the show. With these objectives, protect your family from unforeseen circumstances or the protection of what we call human life values. Establish a reserve or an emergency fund in the form of savings and in investments that are virtually free from risk. Plan for investments that will outpace inflation and provide for a secure financial future. Such equity products would include real estate, common stocks, and mutual funds. I think that one of the reasons people in this country often live from paycheck to paycheck is their inability to recognize they don't completely understand financial concepts. It comes to mind that if you're sick, you don't hesitate in going to the family doctor. And if your car breaks down, you certainly don't hesitate in taking it to a mechanic. But it seems that if we're having some financial difficulty, we don't seek help unless we're facing bankruptcy. We should be turning to our lawyers, our accountants, our insurance agents, our stockbrokers for advice. More and more we are seeing, as they talk about in the book Megatrends, an informational-based system. The financial service industry has gone towards that. For instance, Prudential Bache in Total Financial Planning. All companies are getting more and more geared towards helping the consumer. If you're not reaching out for this help and asking for most of their time, which for most of the time are free services, you are really doing yourself a disservice. A successful business commits a tremendous amount of that firm's resources towards budgeting, cost control, and strategies of financial projections. We, too, can apply some of these principles in our own financial planning. I look forward to being with you in the future, and I encourage you to write in any questions or call the studio here at 390-6780 for any questions or problems that you might be having that we can talk about here on the show. With that, and saying that for our guest next week will be Jay Helt, Certified Public Accountant here in East Brunswick, we will be talking about budgeting and net worth statements here on You and Your Money.